Oh, what's up? What's up? Oh man. Hi guys. I have nothing prepared. Nothing prepared. So, with that being said, just gonna wing it. I've been wanting to do some Pantheon discussions, and the thing is, I have been absolutely swamped at work. Beyond swamped at work. To the point where at night sometimes I don't even know if I get on and play video games, which is kind of upsetting. It's my downtime, my chill time. So what I am doing tonight is I am going to catch up on a little bit of Pantheon. I need to set aside some time and just catch up. So I'm just gonna let y'all tag along with me as I kind of get myself caught up here. Now, I got a chance to get into the newsletter for January, and we're like 2 weeks behind that. It's been a minute. I barely got a chance to even glimpse at it. It's been that kind of month for me. I'm usually the guy that's like digging through the forums, finding every bit of information, almost scavenging, at times, just really digging deep to find whatever I can from VR, from about Pantheon. And this month has just been, it's not allowed that. So what I'm gonna do here is let's I'll bring this up real quick. Yeah, here. Let's see how this works. All right. So I know for a fact I got a chance to go through the first half of this. I didn't get a chance to go into the meat of it, the thing that I really wanted to the most. So I'm going to do that with y'all today. We're going to kind of chill, have a few minutes, 15 minutes or so. I want to talk about this, talk about my thoughts. I had a chance to glance at it, but I didn't have a chance to really think about it, or talk about it. And I enjoy doing both. So when looking at the January newsletter, there was a few things that I noticed. First and foremost, I know I've said this before. I've talked about different, newsletters that have been put out. A lot of people see things like this, where we have Chris Perkins, Ben D, Jared, all these guys and gals, giving some of their stories, information to us, mainly from the devs themselves, and really kind of, giving us some insight on their thoughts of how the year went. I've had a lot of people tell me this isn't helpful to them. They want information about the game. They want, some new information about the classes, the races. They want to find out like what the actual gameplay is going to be like, how combat's going to work. They want to find out all these like details, this nitty-gritty stuff that for me I think is going to come in time. And what I see here though, this is what I see. I mean, as I'm scrolling down through this, I'm not going to read all this, guys. I think everyone has a chance to go through and read all the dev notes and their opinions. If you do, please do. These guys, the one thing that I noticed, and I said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it until I see something different, but I can tell you, every time I read a note from these guys, the one thing I notice is, first off, they're focused on the community as a whole. Secondly, they're focused on putting a great game out there. And thirdly, they're passionate. They're passionate. I mean, that's what I see. They're passionate. They love what they do. I mean, at least that's what I read. When I'm reading their notes, I read it from the perspective of somebody that really loves and truly enjoys what they're doing. That to me is extremely exciting. I'm really happy to see that, to continue to hear that continues to be a theme when I'm talking about or reading about the devs, or interacting with the devs or anybody from VR. And anytime I continue to hear and feel a sense of passion, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride about what they're doing. And again, that to me just speaks volumes for the product that we're going to be seeing come out. So, a few things. I'm just going to keep going down through this. I love art like this, by the way. If you haven't had a chance to go through here, take this picture, scroll in on it, read the notes. There's some really cool stuff here. Some really cool details about what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, why this looks the way it does, what this symbol means, things like that. There's some really neat stuff here. So if you haven't had a chance when you're going through the images here, just click on them and just control scroll in, view those, blow up that text and look at it. As always, some great pictures of the guys. But we'll continue on to what I'm really interested in today. Like I said, I want to keep this kind of short because I'm excited about jumping into some games after this and really relaxing with y'all. But harvesting, gathering in Pantheon. Whew. All right, guys. For me, I have never been more excited about lore, and I've never been more excited about crafting in a game than I have with Pantheon. I don't know why exactly, but something about the way they're presenting the lore and the craft. And you know what? It might be the fact that I don't have a game to play. So the lore for me is really about all I have to do now is really dive into the lore. It's actually caused me to enjoy it. Something that is not normal for me. I couldn't tell you the lore of any other MMO that I've ever played. Ever. I am not a lore guy. I'm not a guy that's going to sit there and dive into the details. I don't really care about the story 99% of the time. However, because of myself jumping on board early with Pantheon, one of the things that I have to do, view the forums. The other thing is read the lore. And as I'm reading the lore, I'm really starting to become invested in what Terminus and Pantheon has to offer as far as story value goes. So I'm going to do some more on the lore and stuff like that in future episodes. We're going to do some more stuff around that. I'm really going to try to go over it, high level it, break it down to keep it simple, because I know there's a lot of people that are not like me that don't sit around reading the lore, but they might want to know about it. So we're going to try to break that down into a few sessions over the next few weeks, maybe even month, talk about lore a little bit more in detail. But for now, we're going to stick with harvesting, because that's the other thing that I've never been truly interested in. I've never truly been interested in crafting and really gathering materials to craft. So it kind of all goes into one, big basket. But for me, again, I'm reading this and I'm excited about doing it. I'm excited about trying it. I'm excited about experiencing the game as a whole, everything that has to offer. So fishing for me, I've always enjoyed fishing in games. Now, I don't consider that to be a harvesting skill. However, it is. It is. Oh, pirates, thank you, man. It definitely is a harvesting skill, and it's one of those things where, again, fishing is just it's been one of those things. Hey, I'm gonna go grab a beer. I'm gonna sit at the shoreline, and I'm just gonna chill, have a good time. And I think fishing for me, I've never looked at it as a crafting skill. I've never looked at it as harvesting. I've just looked at it as something to do and just have fun. So I'm looking forward to fishing. Then we have gathering. I'm not gonna go, like I said, I'm not gonna. Fishing for me is a hobby. Fishing to me is fun. It's not necessarily gathering or harvesting. What I consider harvesting like gathering, skinning, mining, wood cutting, and I'll get into scavenging in just a minute. That's something a little bit different. But in previous MMOs, something like gathering, skinning, mining, and wood cutting have been pretty common. To me, this is where I would just kind of zone out. You talk about gathering, you talk about running around like picking up herbs, gathering just some vines, trying to trying to pick up sticks here or there, trying to pick up twigs, trying to pick up herbs, trying to pick up roots, trying to pick up plants. It never appealed to me, ever. And in Pantheon, chances are I'm not going to be the guy that's doing the gathering. I, though, however, am interested to see how they do gathering. Because from what I read and from what I understand when going through this, Pantheon wants to make harvesting a little bit more involved. They want to put it in areas that's not necessarily difficult, but again, they want to allow you to kind of feel like you're doing something more than just running around clicking on something, at least from what I see. So I'm curious to see where they put the materials, how hard it is to get to materials, You know, when you talk about some plants, some fungi, crops, I don't know. How is that going to work? Are we going to be able to plant and harvest our own crop? Like, I don't know any of that. But I am curious to see how that comes together. I wonder if they will tie it into the perception system. I absolutely wonder if they. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like if I'm a gatherer, if I'm gathering for alchemy, for example, I need to gather some roots, some fungi, things like that. Then I'm curious if I'm running down the road and I get a whiff of some, you know, caves nearby that have some mossy fungus growing in them. Is the perception system potentially going to pick that up and allow me to, you know, kind of have a hint towards where that might be at, or something of that nature? That would be interesting. I would like to see that as well. Let's see here. I've enjoyed crafting, but not hardcore. I want it to be relevant. Absolutely. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Absolutely. So I'm gonna keep going. So gathering, guys. I'm sorry. That's just not my forte. That is, I give it to the guys that can do that. I really do. But I've never been a gatherer. I running around looking for things on the ground to pick up has never been my strong suit. However, I do like skinning. I have found enjoyment in skinning, because skinning to me means that I've had to kill something to skin it. Well, other people could, but for me, it usually means I had to kill something to skin it. The thought of that actually makes me very excited. I like having the ability to go, you know, do that in Pantheon. I like having the ability to go kill animals, go maybe even take down a couple dragons and then skin those, take scales, things like that off of a dragon. I think that the idea of that is enticing to me, and I like that. However, I'm not sure, again, if that's going to be a click skill or maybe more of a involved skill. I'd like to see something that allows it to be a little more involved. However, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. You do it in Subnautica. I do it in Subnautica. And Subnautica, actually, that's a really good point, Vex. I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna read some of that, but here's a really good point. I do this gathering. I'm gonna go back to gathering. That's a really good point. I've never thought about that, Vex. I play Subnautica right now. I'm really enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, to be very honest with everyone. One of the things that I do in Subnautica is gathering. I literally swim around, dive, go through caves, explore, and I'm looking for materials. So, to be fair, I'm not too upset about it either. And it might be because of the way that they've built the game around it, the way that they've introduced it. It is challenging at times. It is, you know, kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's around the next corner. And Subnautica, much like Pantheon, doesn't have a map to, you know, just guide me to where I need to go. It doesn't have any indicator to show me that something's around the corner or something's not around the corner or where I might find the best material. It's kind of just based off memory, and I enjoy it. So there might be a chance that gathering might come up on my list of things that I'm actually enjoying. Like you said, gathering is a good way to explore. I agree with that, and I'm excited to explore Pantheon. So y'all might change my mind on gathering. I might have to consider it, or at least, you know, have some more thought around it. My first original thought, like I said, guys, I didn't have a lot of time to go over the newsletter this month. I've just been swamped. And my first thoughts are what I'm giving you. But as I'm just reading what you're giving me back, I'm starting to see that there's a possibility that with Pantheon, the difficulty of travel and exploring, the idea that I may have to go into some unknown areas that I really have no way of knowing what's behind the corner until I get there. And the reason for, again, just pure enjoyment of, yes, you could say it's almost an excitement of the unknown that I might find while gathering. Yeah, I mean, I think I might. We'll have to see. EQ2 has the best gathering system in MMORPGs. Nodes gave random rares, which were worth more. I've never played EQ2 in that sense, but that would be interesting. I would like to see something like that. That'd be kind of neat. Could be fun dungeon crawl to harvest some epic ingredient. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the best time to do it, you know, in my opinion. But again, that exploring factor that you get when gathering, it might be kind of fun to do as well. So, my problem with gathering in most MMORPGs is you simply need stupid quantities of something to craft anything, and it's tedious. That's actually what I think of when I think of gathering. That's exactly what I think of. I think of games where they're like, I need you to have 47 of this plant, and you run out there and you pick up one every 3 to 4 minutes, and you're just running around low level zones with no risk of dying. And it feels like you're just mindlessly, exploring the area, but you're not even exploring the area. You're not even enjoying it because it's just like, oh, I've got 20 of these things 3 hours in. Let me go. Just all right, here we go. You're not really. You never feel it like you're in risk. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that zones are so one-dimensional. Like if I'm level 10 and I know this zone is level 1 through 6, I have no fear of there being a higher level mob anywhere in the zone. I just don't. However, with Pantheon, the fact that if I have a level 1 through 6 zone, there might in some obscure part of the corner of the zone be a level 40 that might smack me around if I get too close to it. Well, then I'll pay attention. At least the first go around, I'll pay attention, which is going to help. But again, yeah, the stupid quantities that you need to gather, the fact that it's kind of mindless, you don't really need to do anything. You don't, in my experience, I've never stopped to enjoy the scenery while doing that. I've always been just mission focused. I'm just zeroed in on what I need to get, what I need to gather, and I'm just, head down trying to find it. So that's kind of where my experience of gathering comes. But again, like you said, I have been playing a lot of Subnautica. And even with my head down of this is what I need to find, the game just really draws you in. Maybe Pantheon can do that for me. Maybe Pantheon can really draw me into what's going on, have a fear of what's around the corner, the unknown, never be quite comfortable, with just sitting around and not doing anything. So again, I just, I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, the grind is not bad. I don't mind grinding. It all depends on if I have that fear factor, that risk versus reward, that unknown that keeps me kind of focused or in the game mentally, not just sitting there visually looking for a cue as I'm running around to go find something. Instead, it's really making me, for example, here's a good example. In Subnautica, things are not very easily seen. Hopefully that's the way in Pantheon as well. The reason for that is it really makes you focus on what's going on, the scenery, the details of the environment, things like that. It really makes you focus, zero in on stuff. So if I'm looking for moss on a tree, I want that moss on a tree to be visible, but I want to know, I need to know exactly what I'm looking for, and I need to look at it the right way to really see it. That way, I have to actually pay attention to each one of the trees. I go around, I'm looking at a tree, I don't see it. I'm looking at a tree, I don't see it. I don't want it to be just a giant mushroom that's flashing as I'm running by it. Oh, there it is. I want it to be kind of not hidden, but kind of blend into the environment. I want me to have to actually look for it, and it not be easily found. I mean, if I'm gonna grind, I want to have to work for it. I don't want it to be a grind where when I see it, I can see it from a mile away, and it's just, oh, I gotta run there now. I want it to be a grind of I have to actually go around and like look for it. Have to actually pay attention to what I'm doing, watch the surroundings, stuff like that. So. I'm going to read a few of these and then I'm going to keep going. See here. So, most games you're grinding crafts. Okay, most games you're grinding crafts to skill up and level up. If it was more focused on crafting a couple items a day that are meaningful and was more intricate process, I would buy in. I'm not sure about crafting a few items a day. I get where you're going with that, and I don't mind that. I think that's actually a neat idea. For me, I think it's more of, how do I say this? I think it's more of just making crafting items meaningful, making them, and I know that's been talked about and that's been said that they are going to be. That's been something that's been broadcast from my knowledge and my understanding of what I've heard, about Pantheon. Crafting items are going to mean something. They're going to have value, not just value like at the moment, but potentially in-game value as well. They're going to be the top of their tier line, or they're going to be one of the top slot items for that particular maybe set of items that you have for a particular dungeon, or something like that. You're going to have, again, we've discussed this in previous streams, but gonna have different sets of gear for different areas, you know, based off of a lot of different factors. Crafting items need to be relevant in those sets. They need to be something that is needed and wanted, desired for those sets. That way you make crafting have meaning, have value. Because in past games, crafting's really not had that value. Even at end game, most of the things that you would get for crafting were add-ons to items, things like that, where you could just go buy them from somebody and call it a day. You didn't need to really master the skill or anything like that. And mastering the skill, you didn't really benefit that much. I mean, it was a lot of grinding for a little bit of profit, and it just, if you didn't enjoy it, which most people didn't, then you know, you just let somebody else do it and just pay them a little bit of gold because, or platinum or whatever it was, because it was so much easier for you to go do a raid or a dungeon, make that gold up with selling items, and then just go buy whatever you need from them that one time to enhance your gear versus trying to do it all yourself. So yeah, I would love to see crafting be relevant towards the top of its tier in whatever slot, or you know, whatever it's providing. If it's alchemy and it's potions, I would love to see those potions be meaningful to a point where, you know, we're making alchemists, you know, viable, like a viable just all around playstyle. You want to be just an alchemist crafter, and that's what you want to focus on. You know, well then we're gonna allow somebody to really focus on that, and dive into it, and make it, you know, something unique about the game, make it something profitable or interesting for them to continue to do. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how it all turns out, but I think the key for me is they've got to make it relevant, they got to make it meaningful, and they've got to make it have value. So let's see here. What to do? I remember just how pumped I was. Oh, okay. Um, Okay, I was just kind of scanning through a few of the more comments, guys. I'm going to keep going with this. So yeah, I agree with a lot of your comments, and yeah, being pumped about just getting a full set of chain and EQ, you know, or getting pumped about getting to any gear whatsoever in EQ at times was fun. But for sake of time, guys, like I said, I like to keep these things short, sweet, and you know, just highlight the good stuff. So we'll continue to go here. I want to get into skinning. Like I said, I went into skinning. So I covered skinning a little bit. I do enjoy skinning. I have enjoyed skinning in the past. The idea of taking down some monstrous beast and then being able to, you know, skin its corpse, pull scales off of it, or something like that. Again, I really just like the idea of it because it's kind of like a reward for after the fact as well. You'll need infusions for environment resistance, so alchemy will be useful. I hope so. Absolutely hope so. That's the idea. I really hope that, you know, things like that make alchemy relevant. Hope you know, outfitters, provisioners, and blacksmiths, stonemasons, woodworkers, I think the whole 9 yards. I like to see every single crafting aspect of the game be very viable and meaningful, have its own unique value added to the game as a whole. But again, I like skinning. I have no issue with skinning. I'm curious to see if they make skinning a little more involved than just going up to a corpse and right clicking it. So we'll see how that goes. Mining. Okay. Mining. So I'm going to go to WoW actually on mining. I'll give you my thoughts on mining. I'm going to go back to WoW on mining. I'm not going to go to you know, Subnautica. We're not going to go to that level because I'm going to go to WoW on mining. This is what I think of mining when I think of it. I think of mining as, again, pretty mindless, pretty easy to spot, and really just tedious. Because when I think of mining, I think of WoW, and in that, for example, here's what I think of when I think of mining: flying around on a mount. And while I'm flying around on a mount, I'm looking for a node that stands out like a sore thumb, and I fly up to that node. I drop down, I click on the node, I hit it with my pick, and I do it a few times, and I gather the resources. I mount back up, I fly back up, and I go, fly around looking for this giant node that just stands like a sore thumb. To me, that was miserable. However, take away the flying aspect. Make the nodes a little more, let's say this, make them a little more ingrained in the environment. Don't make them stand out so just visibly, and actually make them a little bit more involved with the environment, blend in, actually a part of it. And then as a miner, I would personally love to see the ability to, I don't know, when I'm digging things up or finding it, like you pointed out earlier, having those rare materials. I know we see them here, which is, of course, it kind of makes me a little bit excited, because to me, what I'm reading when I read ores and gems as such as copper, tin, iron, jasper, onyx, quartz, and opal. So when I read that, it makes me think that I'm not going to go up to a copper mine and just get copper. Potentially, I might get some, different gems out of it as well. I like that. I spent a lot of times in Crystal Caverns in EQ collecting gems off of gem collectors to sell in the market. I think having the ability to go up to a mine, hopefully the one that's a little more involved in the environment, blends in a little bit, especially one that I have to run to, risk a little bit to get to. I think finding those is going to be fun. It's going to be fun to find them. And I think mining those is going to be fun if they allow us to find gems or something unique and rare, as we mentioned earlier. While doing that, that really adds a little bit of value to it. So it's almost kind of like a, scratching a lottery ticket off every time you do it. So, yeah, mining should make sense, like actually a mine or rock. Yeah, rock face kind of thing. Yeah. Wonder if they have. Panning in streams, bodies of water, like panning for gold. Like that's what you're talking about, like actual, like, where they take the pan and like pan it for gold and gems and stuff. Man, that would be neat, but that would be hard. I think that would be difficult to do, honestly. Prospecting, yeah. I think that would be. I think that would be really tough to do, honestly. But I think that would be really neat. I don't know. I wonder if it could be almost like fishing. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm wondering if maybe you could, as a miner or something, I'm wondering if you could almost utilize a stream for that. Go up to it, like you collect rock or dirt or something like that, or you go up to a stream and you begin to prospect or pan, or however you want to call it. I don't know. That would be difficult. That'd be a tough one. That would be really fun. I think that'd be really neat, really cool. But I think the reason I say it would be difficult, so I'm just thinking about it, like if I'm mining something, I expect to get like a gold nugget out of it, right? If I'm panning something, I expect to get like a little bitty gold dust, which then would be like taken and put into a something for to be converted into a nugget of sorts. But I don't know. That would be very interesting. I don't know how that would work in a game sense. I don't know how that would work, but I would like that. If they could do something like that, I would not be against it. I think it would be interesting to see it. It would be unique. I've never experienced a game that's done something like that, so it'd definitely be unique. I think it'd be very interesting. I thought of that. But yeah, I'd like to see mining a little more involved. I'd like to see it, like I said, the mines themselves, a little bit more, ingrained into the environment, and a little bit less sticking out like a sore thumb, for example. Let's see here, and then I'd like to see those gems. I'd like to see something out of it, like we mentioned earlier. Now, I don't know how that would go for gathering, but gathering would be neat as well. Maybe to gather, maybe you find a flower or a certain root every once in a while when you're pulling something up. I don't know, something that makes it meaningful or rare or better. as you're pulling, certain things up. That would be a lot of fun. And then what was the other one we had? We had gathering and skinning. Maybe you have the perfect skin, the perfect cut every once in a while, and that perfect cut sells for so much more, has so much more value, something like that. Yeah, I like that. Be a lot of fun. All right, so we got 2 more. We're gonna go through these, not pretty quick, but we're gonna go through these in a good time. Try to get them knocked out. That way we can move along here. Woodcutting. Woodcutting, I think woodcutting has a lot of potential, and I would like to see woodcutting myself done like they did in Rust. I've never seen, like I never played Rust myself, and I turned a stream on earlier this month for the first time. I've never watched anybody play Rust. I just happened to turn it on, just happened to catch somebody playing, and I was like, oh, let me just turn it on and see what this is. And I pulled the stream up, and the guy went to cut a piece of wood, and he cut a tree. And the way he had to do it, and like I said, I don't know the game very much, but the way he had to do it was he had to go to the tree and he had to make a cut, and it made like a line. Then he had to work his way around the tree, and he had to make other cuts that lined up to that line all the way around the tree. And once he lined up all those cuts and connected them all the way around the tree fell, and he was able to gather the resource. Instead of him going up and just like clicking on the tree and just sitting there chopping at it until it fell, he actually had to position his character and make the cuts himself in a manner so that it lined up and it, cut the wood. I think something as simple as that would be just way beyond what I've seen in past MMOs. I would love to see something that makes me a little more involved with the game itself, and just makes me have to actually think about it. It makes me have to actually consider what I'm doing, and I don't know, just it takes me out of that element of run up to it, right click it, it falls, I move on. I would love to have something that's a little more involved, whether it be running around a tree and chopping it at a certain angle, or whether it be like you're pulling the axe up and you have to hit, you have like a meter. It's almost like the old golf games, or a golf game where you have like a meter, so you hit that sweet spot and then you bring it back down and you get the perfect cut. I would love to see something like that where you right click a tree and it has that, or you right click and it has that swing, and then you hit that sweet spot and then you bring it down to the perfect cut. Maybe it doesn't do anything besides gives you more chance, more possibility of getting a rare item or a perfect cut, or maybe it gives you more wood or whatever it does. But I would like to see something where it actually has a little involvement in it. I think something like that would be really neat. So there is something on here: saps, barks, lumber. So just thinking about that again, having some sort of rare or unique item, material, a resource that's gathered from it. If I'm cutting a piece of wood and I suddenly start getting sap out of that wood, maybe that sap is very unique, very rare, and helps me do XYZ. I think that would be really neat. Also, the trees themselves. I want the trees themselves to look like they belong in the game. I don't want them to look like they stand out like, oh, that's a tree you can cut, because it just looks terrible. I want the trees to look like they're a part of the game, and when I cut them down, I want it to actually look like a stump or something that looks like a part of the game, not like it's just a stump thrown there in the middle of the grass, or a tree just thrown there in the middle of a field because it's harvestable, or we can actually cut it down. I would love to see these be more ingrained in the game. Yeah, sure, there needs to be a way for you to like kind of indicate which ones you can and can't cut down, but at the same time, I'm hoping more so than not can be, and I would love to see a way for them to make those look like they belong in the game. So if they're not cut down, they don't look like they're standing out in any way, shape, or form. But if they are cut down, they still look like they belong. That stump belongs, or that hole where the tree was belongs, or whatever belongs in the game. Not that it's, I don't want it to be just like that weird looking, log or texture or tree that's in the corner that really just stands out and has no place in the game. or has no real feel to the game as well. So again, a lot of the same theme that you're hearing from me. I really just want everything to look like it belongs in the game. I don't want it to stand out in any really unique way. I want it to just feel like it's a part of the game, and I want me to have to go up to it. And as a woodcutter, as a miner, I want to have to go up to it, look at it, and go, oh, because I see these marks in this way, I can tell that this is a tree I can cut. Oh, because I see these rocks, I can see the gems in those rocks kind of scattered in there. I know this is a place I need to mine. Not like, oh, I see that giant weird looking node over there. That's definitely a node for me to mine. Or, oh, look at that tree. It's like 4 shades lighter and looks like it's hovering above the, looks like it's just sitting on top of the ground compared to every other tree in there that has moss on it and is very very detailed and looks like it's, you know, part of the game. That tree looks bland and just sitting on top of the grass. It's you know, it's harvestable. I just want to see it again, just everything blend in. I want to be involved in the environment, and I want it to all kind of feel like it's flowing in. Now, last but not least, scavenging. I haven't had a lot of time to think about scavenging, and I don't know how exactly it's going to work, but I'm really interested to see how this skill works, this ability works over all the others. The reason for that is, from my understanding in Pantheon, we're going to see a lot more gear that is not bind on equip. We're going to see a lot more gear that you can actually use and then sell once you're done using. Or you can give it to or you can scavenge it. So, man, this one right here, I'm not sure how it's going to work. I'm excited to see how it's going to work. But I think it's going to be one of those that's very interesting. I think of scavenging kind of like WoW, where you were able to disenchant things in WoW. However, those things you disenchanted, for the most part, there was a lot of times where it was bind on equip or something of that nature. So you couldn't sell it. You couldn't get rid of it. There was no value in it. You just disenchanted it because you had nothing else to do with it. However, what I'm hearing in Pantheon is most of those items are going to have value to them. So it's like you're either going to be the person that's buying those items at a high cost and then, you know, breaking them down for potentially nothing, or you're going to be the person that's, you know, in your guild maybe that has a very high scavenging skill, and you're in charge of taking all the excess gear and breaking that down for usable, you know, materials, things like that. I'm just not sure how this is going to work. I'm really interested. I mean, is there going to be an ability or a way, or is there going to be a reason for you to take some of these top tier, top items and break them down and get something out of them? Is there going to be something that's that valuable to get out of them? Or is this just going to be for the lower items on the, you know? And the reason I bring that up is because if this is just for the items on the lower tier, if this is just for like those just random drops that, you know, not really that meaningful, I don't see a lot of value in this. I see value, but I don't see a lot of value in this. However, if I'm looking at taking top tier items and breaking those down with the potential of getting certain crafting materials that I can utilize to enhance my gear, person, ability, whatever, if I need to break down like some of the more pricey items, the more rare items, to potentially obtain certain materials that I need from scavenging to craft things that I, you know, wouldn't be able to craft normally. That's interesting, because for me, you know, it's like, okay, I can sell this item for 1,000 gold, or I can scavenge it and potentially get something of value, or potentially I could get nothing. You know, it's a risk, and it's a risk that I know a lot of people might be willing to take, but it's gotta have a reward that's worth it. So I don't know. This is gonna be a tough one for me, because I see scavenging kind of being that. Oh, man, it's a tough one. It's gonna be that one that, when you're looking at it at the top end, it's going to either be able to provide extremely um, huge benefits based off what you can salvage, or it's not going to provide as great of benefits, and it's going to be more risky, more cost ineffective, and things like that to do versus just going to buy it yourself. So I don't know. This one's a tricky one. I'm gonna have to wait and see how this one works. I'm excited to see it because I think that there's gonna be a lot of things that you can do with this that are neat. For example, let's see here. A scavenger gains more skill through. Oh, though they'll be more likely to receive crafting components back, such as bolt of cloth for what? A robe? I mean, I think of scavenging. I think of more like metal armor, stuff like that. But I guess you could break down a robe, the bolts of cloth, ignits, and then let's see, armor padding, bits of chain, and cut gems and stones. I'm not sure where you get cut gems and stones from. Jewelry, maybe. Maybe you can break down jewelry and stuff. Man, I don't know. This is gonna be a tough one. I don't know how it's gonna work though. I really don't. I'll have to see. I'll have to see. Wasn't there talk about having high-end crafting materials drop from dungeon bosses? That might play into that. Break down high-end gear to combine with those drops. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, I think scavenging either has one or two possibilities. It could either be something that's not necessarily cost-effective, cost-efficient. It's like just really you're playing the risk more than anything. Or it can be something that's extremely valuable and it doesn't have any more risk than the other harvesting, or maybe it has a slightly more risk, but the gains you get for it are noticeably better. I don't know how else to say it. I just don't know. I don't know. Like, if you compare, one of the things for me is I like to see fishing, I like to see gathering, I like to see skinning, I like to see mining, I like to see wood cutting and scavenging. I like to see them all have a unique place within Pantheon, be meaningful and relevant. I would hate to see it to where I'm not going to be a miner, even though I might be a blacksmith. Let's say I'm a blacksmith. I would hate to see that the fact that I don't need to be a miner as a blacksmith, because yes, sure, mining and blacksmithing go together. However, as a miner, I'm going to get my blacksmithing skill up to max. Once I'm max as a blacksmith, I no longer need mining. I don't want to see that. I would want to see, and then what would happen? Well, all your miners would then drop mining if they could and just pick up scavenging and start scavenging things. I don't want to see people dropping skills and things like mining, like wood cutting, like skinning. I don't want to see people dropping these things for scavenging at in game, because scavenging has so much more value. But it just really depends on how it's implemented. Are the gems maybe potentially that you get from mines, are they as valuable as certain items you can scavenge? If so, then you wouldn't want to drop mining. You might really want to keep mining, because some of the mining materials you gather might have more value than some of the items you scavenge. I mean, that's the type of thing for me. I would love to see the value of each one of these have a unique place within Pantheon. I don't want to see it to where one of them at I keep wanting to say in game, but I don't want to see one of them at top level. We'll say that max level. I don't want to see one of these abilities at max level. Max level not only as a character, but with your professions. I don't want to see one of these just completely trump all the other ones in viability. Yeah, that's a really good point. Most professions share equally in the yields of scavenging. The exceptions are alchemists and provisioners, as separating liquids and foodstuffs is a bit sticky. So I agree with you. I think, for those, you have fishing, which of course huge, and gathering. So these two abilities don't really go into scavenging, but scavenging seems to be able to break down leather or items such as that, take those skins off of what you put them on, break those down a little bit. Maybe some of them get ruined, maybe some of them don't, but it allows you to break that down, reuse the material potentially. It allows you to potentially break down some of the ingredients you used for blacksmithing, stonemasons. Break down those stones or that potential piece of armor. Maybe break that down into a way that you can reuse some of the materials, and then break down. I don't know how you would break down wood, but to me, wood is wood. Like, you cut wood once, it's can't really. I mean, you can cut it back up into pieces, but I don't know. Wood would be a little bit difficult for me to comprehend, but it does say that it has the ability to make it to where it's useful. So I do see that. I do see scavenging as a way to take, for example, if a blacksmith or a stonemason puts together a piece of armor, scavenging might be able to take that armor apart and give them back some of their materials so they can utilize them again. But here's the thing. That also means it doesn't negate mining, which is good. The thing that I don't want to see, though, the thing that I have to be cautious of is I don't want to see scavenging become the end-all skill, the one skill that everyone wants to have because it has more value than the others. I don't, again, because if it's used in so many different areas, if I find a piece of gear or armor and I can break that down into just as much material as I get when mining, then that's great. But what does mining provide for me that scavenging wouldn't? Like, why wouldn't I just go gather pieces of armor and break those down versus looking for mining nodes? Well, then we come into the fact of, well, maybe there's going to be gems in those mines. Those gems might add value that you wouldn't get within scavenging. Things like that. There's got to be a balance. There's got to be a way to balance that out to really make that worthwhile. Because if you don't, then somebody's going to find a way to basically say, oh, look, I have a bunch of... let's say I pull arrows off of these creatures, or I pull wooden shields off these creatures, and they come in just bunches of wooden shields. If I can break those wooden shields down into planks and then use those planks for something of woodworking, or even something that alchemist scribes something that scribes might use, like I can break those shields down into basically little pieces of wood, and those little pieces of wood can be chopped up into or broken down into paper for scribes to use, parchment, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm just saying, if this skill allows me to break down everything and get just as much value as it would if I was to gather or mine or cut something else, then I would be cautious. I would actually want to see these raw, just straightforward abilities give something, but possibly give something that's a little bit more valuable. And even this, I would love to see this have the potential of giving something that's very valuable back to you. But I wouldn't think that scavenging would give you anything additional. Meaning, if I have a piece of jewel, like a wand that has a jewel on it, if I scavenge that wand to pull that jewel out, I would have a better chance of getting back a rusted or cracked or nicked gem versus a perfect gem versus that let's say a perfect diamond. Let's say I have a piece of jewelry and I want to scavenge that piece of jewelry to pull the diamond out to reuse the diamond. So the scavenger takes that jewelry, he pulls the metal apart, pulls the let's say gold. He pulls the gold apart, he pulls the diamond apart, he melts the gold down. He has the diamond, but the diamond is no longer perfect. It's no longer flawless. The diamond has been scrubbed up a little bit. It's still nice. It's still a quality diamond. It's a normal diamond, but it's no longer perfect. It's no longer a flawless diamond. But let's say if as a miner, I have the possibility of mining a flawless or perfect diamond, which has more value than what I would get out of scavenging. I would like to see that. Now, do I have the ability to pull that same perfect diamond out? Of course. But that means that there had to be a perfect diamond in there in the first place to pull out a perfect diamond. Versus here, I had the opportunity to find one, period. I don't know. Something like that. Something to where they balance each other out so that there's value in going out and exploring and really taking risks to find stuff versus sitting in an auction house or sitting at some vendor collecting, materials that are, I guess you could say digging through vendors in the city, collecting materials and goods, and then scavenging those goods and then selling those materials to others, as being your sole source of finding most of the materials in the game. I would much rather there be a lot more value in going out and exploring, taking risk, and exploring certain areas, finding a mine that has a really deep shaft, going down that shaft to explore and find something to mine that's worth value, versus being able to get the same thing out scavenging. That's just me. But so again, that was a lot of talking. That was a lot of information, a lot of opinions. I know. I will say, I'm looking at crafting in a whole new light. I've never been one to really craft in past games. I've never seen a need for it. Everything that I've ever seen in previous games when it comes to crafting, I've been able to purchase or to buy without crafting, and I've never needed to know or to learn or to craft in any way, shape, or form because I've never seen it as a value. Even most times, I wouldn't even need something from a crafter. Most items, most gear, most everything you need besides maybe a potion or some potential food was gathered some other way besides crafting. So crafting really didn't have a viable place in the later stages of the game, towards those top tier levels. I'm hoping Pantheon changes that. I'm really hoping that Pantheon brings crafting to the forefront, makes it extremely viable, but not only viable but important to the economy and to the game as a whole. I want to see crafting become something that has to be done for those top tier guilds to really succeed and be successful. I want them to have to depend on it in a certain way, just like they would depend on getting gear in a raid. I want to see them have to depend on getting gear from crafters, getting materials from crafters, getting food, potions, whatever it is from crafters as well, so that we really make those skill sets valuable within Pantheon. But so, with that being said, I know it's a lot of information, and I didn't mean to take more than 15 minutes, so it only took me like an hour, but I like talking about it. It's fun. It's fun talking about Pantheon. But regardless, I'm going to cut this off right here. I'm going to go ahead and just stop it cold. I've said what I want to say about crafting. I are harvesting for now. I think, like I said before, I really want to get into the lore going forward. So we're going to do some more sessions in the future, more geared towards lore. But for tonight, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it simple. Everyone's welcome to hang out with me, talk more Pantheon as I go through the night. But for this particular segment, this section, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off and take 5 minutes and then come back and get into some games and talk Pantheon or just whatever we want to talk about. So appreciate everybody hanging out, stopping by. Thanks for all the input as always. I've still got that childhood excitement when it comes to Pantheon. I really do, and it's weird because I've never had that, or at least I haven't had that in a game in a long time. I have not been excited about a game for a long time. So for me to be excited about a game for over a year now, like I have been for Pantheon, and just continuing to look forward to the day that it's released. It definitely says something to me about the game, about the way they're presenting the game, presenting the information, and about the way that they're presenting themselves when making the game. So really looking forward to what we see coming in 2018, and we're just starting. It's February 1st, and we'll try to do this like weekly, where we have a Pantheon discussion, sit down, talk about stuff, go over lore, go over information that's passed, news articles, stuff like that. So definitely. All right, 5 minutes, guys. Be right back. Thanks.